you in late often? Now that you're out here?
Not very often, man. Not very often. I used to be there damn near every day.
I know. That's what. Yeah.
Working in LA, so I was always in LA.
I was about to say, so do you still have a job now, or you do a job?
No job, sir. That's your fault.
That was the one thing I was like, because like I jumped into real estate at 25, and I had just like quit cold turkey. Like,
with the job cold turkey?
Yes. It was really like nowhere to go with it. And then if I could have changed it, maybe I would have kept the job for a little bit longer while I built the business on the side. But then again, like it doesn't take away from everything that I learned and like being put in there without no like safety net as well.
Okay.
So I will say that.
All right.
But it's weird though.
So we'll get right into this, y'all. Millionaire Talk Show. Charles Oglesby, top millionaire. Man, we are here in Southern California. And if you're in Southern California, you got to stop by Tide Capital HQ. We got the brother Austin Smith all the way from the East Coast.
That's a fact.
New Jersey, right?
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Born and raised in East Orange, but definitely North New Jersey.
Okay. And this guy is fully self-employed, right?
Fully self-employed.
And before he got on this, he was talking about how he had taken the leap maybe a little bit too soon, but it still worked out though, which is kind of dope, right?
For sure. It just, I think a lot of people jump into like the entrepreneur space and then, they take it as a job. So they're looking at it as self-employed and not really running the financials like as a business.
Yeah.
Right. So like they almost, lie to themselves like numbers wise as far as like what's actually coming in.
Talk to the mic for me. Very, very important.
So like what actually, what numbers are actually coming into the business, what you're actually paying yourself. And people usually, will kind of fudge the numbers on that. So they take all their income and they assume that that's like W-2 income and they spend it, kind of the same way. And it's a complete no.
It's not the same way, man. It's not the same way. Give me 1 second. Let me change one thing. Yeah, that camera was looking better. Also close the door so that here. And a little bit more. Yeah.
It's a platinum studio right here. I didn't even know ring lights came this big.
Man, so I'm gonna probably decrease that logo a little bit in 1 second, but can you tell people a little bit more about who you are and where you're from?
Yeah. Austin, aka More Than an Agent on IG and on the platforms. Coming from North New Jersey, full-time real estate agent and investor. Jumped into business around 7 years ago. Pretty much never looked back. Built a nice little respectable portfolio with me and the missus of 16 units, one duplex in Cleveland. So started the out-of-state ventures. And, now at this point, we're just looking to scale. We're just looking to build and we're just looking to give value any way that we can, man. So it's cool to see everything that, I can tell about everybody by what's on your timeline. That's a fact.
What do you mean by that?
We'll put it like this, man. Well, facts. One, I tip my hat off to you because you unapologetically promote your business, your movement, and what you're looking to do. And I commend you on that because a lot of people, are scared to promote their business. You know what I mean? Like it's weird. But there's a reasoning for that because most people that want to jump into business, they don't realize that you are now in charge of each department as a normal business would. And if you're not great at marketing, then the marketing efforts and results are not going to show up.
What's interesting is if I was Coke and they saw Coke everywhere, they would just say we see Coke everywhere. But since I'm a person, and they see me everywhere, now they're like he doing the most.
Right.
And if I was another brand, that'd be admirable. We see McDonald's everywhere. They're doing something right. You see me, and it's like, oh, man, like I guess people just kind of shy away from being marketing at that level when the best brands are seen everywhere. The best brands are seen over and over and over again. That's how you get that name recognition.
Well, I mean, like I said, I mean, like you understand what it is to run a business, and like I said, like it's each department. You know, most employees they are in that specific department, and that's it. So they can focus on just what they're good at.
Yeah.
Not realizing that when you run a business, all you're doing is being the best marketer for your company.
Yeah.
And that's it. Right. So like
that's all you're doing.
And that's what the marketers are going to do in any normal big brand. They're going to unapologetically promote their business, and that's it.
Yep. So, why real estate? What brought you into the game of real estate investing?
And I mean, not to sound so cliche, because it always sounds so cliche of like, you know, I was at a dead end job and so on and so forth. We know that part, right? I think real estate, put it like this, the best real estate is an extreme people business and an extreme relationship business. And that's just something that I was good at, just like on the networking and providing value for clients. And I'll tell you this story real easy. The reason why I wanted to get in real estate investing, because I remember my first transaction, my very, very, very first transaction, where I helped an individual buy a 3-family here in out in Newark. Right. And it was my very first deal. She doesn't know anything. I don't know anything. But mind you, I had to go through all the licensing. I had to spend all the money to be part of the boards. I had to go through all the training, so on and so forth. It's both of our first deals.
Yeah.
Right. On that deal, I made maybe $7,500. Right. Which, like, for your first check, you're like, yes, $7,500. And she made 30. Right. She made 30 in equity. Not to count whatever she's made off of cash flow since she's had it since.
Yeah.
Same deal. Both of us, this is our first time buying a house. She's buying a house. I'm helping her buy a house, but she made more than me, but yet I'm the licensed professional.
Yeah.
So I got to get into real estate.
Right. So now you have to say, I need to stop selling real estate. I need to actually start doing real estate.
Listen, it's, the income comes through the business and then it gets reinvested in the same synergistic asset class that you're already in the field. It's like being a stockbroker, but you own no stocks.
Yeah.
Right. So I saw that, and once I knew I was always going to get into real estate, but that was more of an eye opener. And it made sense why 2 out of 10 agents invest. It makes no sense. But.
So that's why more than an agent.
Exactly. And not only that, see, 85% of my business, at least on the retail friendly neighborhood agent aspect of it, is helping people buy multifamilies.
Yeah.
Right. So it's more of a business to business model instead of business to consumer.
Yeah.
So I've had clients that have come back, 8 months. I mean, they bought a house, they bought their first 3-family last year, had a baby. They bought it last year in August, had a baby. And then just bought their next property. We just closed on that about a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
So they have 5 units in 8 months. And as a family, you're as a business to business model, you're able to profit off of the same customer twice. And that's just one example, right? So, but yeah, that's why more than an agent, not just, it's beyond just helping somebody buy that first home, for the, helping their kids, grow up in a good school district. How far can we really take it? So that's why it's more than an agent.
How are you going out and getting your customers or your clients or your prospects? Yeah,
so excellent question. 80% of most residential businesses or residential agent businesses is going to be sphere influence, right? Sphere influence, your initial network, people that you know already, people that know, like, and trust you. From there, your job is to tap into that community so well that it just sprouts like weeds. Because everybody on average, they wrote this in the book, everybody on average knows 150 people.
I like it.
You can come with 150 people. The two most important, and I say most important, I say gatherings, and I don't want to say most important, but the gatherings where people come out the most for you, ironically, is your wedding, if you got married, and then your funeral.
Yep.
Right? And usually on average, about 150 people you would have touched. That's on an average scale. So now everybody that, in theory, everybody that 150 people, they know 150 people, and so on and so forth. So it's an exponential effect to it. I just got to do better on my unapologetic marketing like you to continue to put that word out. But I mean, spirit influence and building with people that you already will.
I like it because you're not just looking for the customer, you're looking for the connections behind the customer. So it's like we can all find one person, but like, who do you know that I need to know? And I remember when I used to be working in one of the sales jobs that I had, it was always like, who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? You just keep on digging and digging and digging and finding more referrals. And so online marketing, a lot of times we're just trying to find that one follower. Right. And we don't realize, man, that follower has followers. Right. That follower has friends and family. And so now you got to make your message so you can start finding the people that are beyond your existing following. That's dope.
And your cost acquisition goes down.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? Your cost per customer. The only real marketing I really do where I really spend the dollars behind is marketing for off-market deals. Mm-hmm. And that's because that's where the value goes into it the most. So spending the money marketing there, either one or two things are going to happen, especially that's why I say I'm more than an agent, because when that seller says like, hey, I'm ready to sell, I got two hats on, right? There's the investor hat first, and then there's the agent hat second. And it's whatever the seller wants. Most people think that negotiations are, how do I get the other person to give into all my demands? Yeah. And it's like negotiations are the exact opposite of that, right? Like, how does everybody win while I get everything that I'm looking for?
Right.
You know what I mean? So in those cases, whatever the seller's looking for, I got a hat for that.
Yeah.
You want to sell quick, it's the stress. We know the typical death, divorce, disease as far as on the investment end. Or you might just be looking to, sell and move up or whatever the case, and you're just looking for top dollar. But whatever that is, and that is sales, just whatever your customer's looking to do, just playing matchmaker and getting the end result done. Which is why it works so much on like your platform, because like it's like, the value is so deep, right? That like there's everyone is going to not think about how you've helped legacy building, right? Like it's a much deeper than just a product, because now they're like changing their own lives as well as their family's lives, and it's deep. So that's like it's straight lace. It's straight lace.
And I like it because it's interesting you said that you don't necessarily negotiate, you just give them options. Mm-hmm. And you are those options.
Exactly. Whatever you're looking to do, because then the seller's going to be happy, everything like that. Because you'd be surprised. I think most people think, like, especially like on wholesaling and stuff like that, or even just flipping, that most people think that they have to like scam the seller in order to get a good deal. Yeah. Best believe when the seller is distressed, they're like, please take this off my hands. I don't care what you do with it. I just need out of this scenario. Yeah. Whatever you do, here's my number. I don't care. You're talking too much. I just want my number, and that's it. Yeah. You will find those deals organically. I'm telling you, I can't stress it enough. And until you actually are doing those deals, will you see for yourself that the sellers just want to out, and they're bleeding, and they not physically obviously, but bleeding financially, and you're their only hope right now.
So even though you work like self-employed, are you still with the larger brokerage, or are you 100% like?
Excellent question. So I'm with eXp Realty. They are the broker. I do have my broker's license where I can open up a brokerage if I wanted to. There's a lot more, and I've still, I've thought about it. The biggest reason, if EXPI, they're a publicly traded company on the NASDAQ. So you can definitely invest in the company as well. And the biggest reason why actually I'm still there is because they allow for shares in the company. Mm-hmm. So it's now taking a bigger piece of the ownership. In theory, whatever happens with the brokerage, I'm not about to sit here and say this is Amazon, right? But at the same time, it's one little thing that mentality wise, you're taking more of the ownership like piece of it. If that goes under, then I will be opening up my own brokerage. So we'll see what happens. But all that to say that everything is independent of me. If I don't sell, there's no checks. So
it's like a partnership in the sense that like you still have their backing, their software. Mm-hmm. They're like, if you need mentorship or any help getting the deal closed or whatnot, you have that.
And then an independent contractor, and whatever I sell, I make. If I don't sell, there's no basis, there's no stipends, nothing.
So what were you doing before you did real estate again?
I was at a company that manufactured LED lighting products.
Okay.
So before the ring lights came out, which I think these are all LED, I'm pretty sure. I worked for a company that manufactured LED lighting products for like interior, exterior, commercial spaces. So whether it was something as simple as ceiling, downlights, or we're in a office complex now, so you'll have the LED outdoor lighting as well. It's just the fact that I was working for the customer service end on something, that pretty much was a dead end job.
Mm.
And for the record, in all transparency, I got into some things, when I was younger that affected, my record, where I couldn't get a job like in most places, right? So I couldn't get my financial licenses, which is what I was originally going to go to. So I went to school for finance and thought I was going to be on Wall Street right after. And then, like I said, I just couldn't get certain licenses. And it was my first job out of college. It was great. But again, I was making 30 grand a year, 35 grand a year. And it just kept selling me off my ass for the most part.
Yeah.
And then at that point, it's like, there's got to be something more, that particular thought process. And then a buddy of mine introduced me into real estate, and it was something that I knew I could grasp and take on. So,
so we kind of touched on this, but when you left the job early, like, what was that like?
Scary as hell. I mean, but then again, I will say this. I'm glad I did it when I did, and we were talking about it before. I probably would have kept the job. I don't know. I probably would. One thing I do know, I would have kept the job in order to get a mortgage to buy my first property.
Yeah. I
would have done that before I would have, stayed at my job while I built the business on the side. Because to be honest with you, at 30 grand and, you're working 40 hours a week. So I'm like, all right, Austin, like, if you can't make more money than 30 grand working 80 hours, you know what I'm saying, for yourself, then like, I don't know, we'll just go back to school.
What's crazy?
We'll just go back to school. Like, just look at the numbers. Like, it's just like, come on now.
I make more money working for myself than I did working for a job, and I play golf all day.
And it's almost it's so funny. Like when you do it on people's calendar, and you're like, all right, that's clear. Like that's cutting it close to my golf time.
It's just crazy because like you can work. The reason why it works like that is because they're robbing us, man. That's the only reason why it makes sense. You are worth way more than whatever they're paying you, and you've proven that. And so, like, if you're stuck in this system, I don't care if you're making $100,000 on the job, you're still getting robbed.
Right. In the grand scheme of it, you're just being paid for time and for particular. When you're an employee, like once you're beyond that 100,000 mark, it's more so for time. I'm sorry. I want to reverse that. When you're above that $100,000 mark, it's more so when you get the task done and when your job gets done. I think like anything under 100,000, like you're getting paid for your time, and that's pretty much it. You have a lot more flexibility to clock in and clock out, and that's it. When you're above that 100,000 mark, you're a little bit more important to the company.
Yeah.
So you gotta, it's more about, hey, did this get done before that's deadline?
Yeah.
But to your point, like all the hours that you put into, all the sweat equity that you're putting into, that paycheck's going to be the same. Right? Mm-hmm. So unless it's a real stepping stone into what you really want to do, like you're going to have some decisions to make.
But I like what you said, and it's for a lot of people who are listening. You said, if I go on my own and I work 40 hours a week and I can't make $30,000, that's a problem.
It's a problem.
Because you can.
That's a problem.
And you have, and you've done. I'm sure you make well over what you're making on the job working for yourself.
No questions asked. And it's just, you fear what you don't understand. And, this is why like platforms like yours are so powerful, because one, we had, and honestly, just because of the transparency, like we have to have the conversation more, and not just the conversation. We actually have to like start showing, like we got to be a little bit more open. We've been so like secretive when it comes to money that, which I understand, like good and bad, but we've become so like tight-knit about money that all of a sudden when somebody's getting a bag, we automatically think it's a scam. They did something, they inherited, so on and so forth. And it's just like, no, like I just studied business. Like money is just one aspect of our entire like life. Yeah. Like out of the 6 main departments of our life, like money is just, and there's rules to the game. And if you play the rules, you get the outcome. Like 1 + 1 = 2.
Right.
It's the same. And money is just numbers. So like respect the numbers, what comes in, what goes out, and then what gets reinvested. And that's pretty much it.
I'll say the scary part about like that thought is we have to What is it? Maybe that's the next door neighbor.
Oh, the
Hear that?
music.
Yeah, I was like, I never heard that music before. I thought somebody was on hold.
Oh, that's currency?
They might be on hold, right? But like the opposite thought of that is like if you see somebody who's making money and assume it's a scam, then you're essentially saying like we just gonna be broke.
Yep.
And that's just the state of it for all of us is we're broke. There's nothing we could ever do to change that. And I don't believe that that's true. I believe that every single thing that we aspire to, we can achieve if we just at least change our mindset to take that approach. And so it's like we have all these different problems. I was sitting in my house one day and I was thinking about how like we live right in the street from here, but south of there's like another neighborhood that's not so great. And they're always like reporting on the next door app, like, oh, somebody took my Amazon package, somebody did this. And I was like, bruh, you know, if we all contributed $50 a month to a pot over and above the HOA, we could get our own private security and we could also buy the truck and we could pay his wages and he would drive around the community and just make sure everything is secure. And you know what that would do? Not only would that make it more secure and more happy, it also probably increase the property values.
Easy.
And so it sounds like a crazy idea because everybody's like, we can't do that. What about the government? What about the city? What about this? But it's like now we're over here thinking of different ways to increase the value of things that requires thought, not protests, not voting, not any of that stuff. And so I don't know why I brought that up, but I brought that up.
I will say you practice group economics right then and there.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, that's it right there. $50.
$50 times 100 homes. That's like what? Alexa, what's 50 times 100?
50,000?
Alexa,
5,000?
What's 50 times 100? I should probably know this.
50,000.
500,000.
500,000.
50 times 100? That is not 500,000.
50 times 100? I thought it was 50. I
don't got a phone over here. Instagram, what's 50 times 100?
And these the finance guys.
Right. 50 times 100. Oh,
that's cool. We got
5,000. It's 5,000. 5,000 a month. 5,000 a month. That's $50. 5,000 a month can pay somebody's salary, man. Some little $12 hour security dude driving around. Nevertheless, whatever it costs, and there's more than 100 homes in the community, but we still increase the value. I bring it up because we could solve any of the problems that we aspire to, but the problem is we like to look at the problems and point at the problems and act like we can't solve the problems ourselves, which is why when you see somebody solving problems for themselves, you think they're doing something wrong. Because you think we're not supposed to be able to solve our problems. You think that it's supposed to just be like a constant struggle, constant can't ever win, constant we just go and wait. And that's part of the reason why like some of the church music we sing and listen to ain't that good. It's like we forever trying to get over, man. Like my grandma's trying to get over. My mom was trying to get over. At what point are we going to get over? We already over, man. We already blessed.
Especially in the stock game. Like it's almost like quote unquote incompatible. Like it's almost like like there shouldn't be black men that are killing the stock game. Doesn't make any sense. Options,
right. I got a lot of slack for that, man. A lot of people were hating when they saw like, and honestly, I was scared. And it's all mentality thing. It's like I was scared because I was like, man, I don't know if people are gonna take this and like lose a bunch of money or whatever.
Right.
And on the other hand, people made a bunch of money.
Right.
And you start to realize like there's nothing that we can't do. We just get convinced that we can't do it. Right. You got kids out there killing it on video games, kids out there killing it in sports, killing it in all these different things. Why can't they kill it in stocks? Why can't they kill it in options?
Yeah, because they got a boy, I think I follow I forgot his name. Is it I don't remember his name, but he's the truth.
Oh yeah, Truth Jones.
Young cat. And
he's not the only one. There's another dude that was just like him
killing it
that came before him. He said he was inspired by his video.
Look at that. And that's like, and that's the next generation. And we can only imagine what the next generation is going to do. But I can't even remember what I was doing. I don't remember how old he is, but what, 14, 15?
Yeah.
Can't remember what I was doing at 14, 15.
It wasn't trading stocks probably. Neither was I. I was out there trying to like get a little BS job selling newspapers or something.
I think I was working at like the National Park Service or something, trying to get like the first car to like go down to the beach like in high school or whatever the case. But it was funny that you mentioned that like the fear aspect of it. And I remember when I quit my job and went into the business full time, and here's such the importance of it. Money does remove fear, right? And what I mean by that is even while I was working at that job, I stayed at home. I stacked up, right? So I had a nest egg.
Yeah.
So I had a nest egg. So I was like, yo, I got a year to the side. That's off a $30,000 job, mind you, right?
Yeah.
Plus a little part-time side hustles and bartending and so on and so forth. But it was just the simple fact that I stacked as much as possible.
Yeah.
Right. So then when it came down to quit, it was like, all right, like I got a year runway. If I can't change it in a year, then fine, I'll go back to school.
Yeah.
But I mean, school isn't even like on that option either, because it's like definitely probably not going to take out like more student loans.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was just like, you got a year to figure it out. Like, go do your thing. I trust yourself. I know you're a hustler. If you are passionate about it, you're going to promote it. And that's that. So that nest egg helped. And like that helped remove some of the fear of it. But we have all the fears never necessarily go away. You know what they say, new level, new devil.
Yeah. Yeah. How'd the first year go?
It sucked.
Why?
I made, like, as far as like tax returns, what was actually reported was like $5,000. Yeah. So I made like 20-ish like gross, and that was it. But I loved it. I loved it because like that was like I made that like on my own, right? Like I had the thrill, and they say like if you can get past your first year, the 18-month mark, like you're gonna be all right. Because majority of the agents are out in the first year. Yeah. So if you're looking at statistics, you're like, all right, they tell you everything that you need to do to be successful. Out of the first year, 8 out of 10 agents are out of the business. Yeah. Out of the second year, the remaining 2, 1 of them is out of the business. So if I can get past my second year, I'm good. Yeah. Mind you, like, I'm not saying that you have to wait till like the second year for things to pop off. So they popped off in like that, like right after that first year.
What year was that?
So 2015, and mind you, I started in like November. So you're starting like in like a cold like atmosphere where there's not many homes that are being sold. So by the time that like the next spring market came around, that was like my first like real action. So 2016, my first real action spring summer market. But that gave me the runway for that following year. So for anybody that's thinking about getting into the business, you can be killing it your first year. But what I want you to realize is that real estate is momentum building. And because the sales process is so long, you have to build that in. So even if you start January 1st, you got a buyer ready to go. January 1st, you find a house. January 1st, you get under contract. January 1st, offer accepted January 1st. You still don't know when you're going to get paid.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
In the normal process, if they're using a mortgage, it's safe to say, your 30 to 45 day, right, is the easy marketing way to say that this would be like quick in theory. Yeah. But everyone that's in the business, that the randomest stuff happens. Yeah. Your check has to get, and you don't, until you close, that's when you get your check. So that first year or just time in between in general just helps you build that momentum. Yeah. So then now you can handle
a pipeline of closings now.
Exactly. You can handle the in between while still being financially good.
Yeah. So I don't know if I asked this question yet, but that you said the first year was hard, first 18 months are hard, but was it worth it?
Oh, hell yeah. There's no question. And the crazy part about it is I still made more money on the real estate investing than I did like from the business.
What do you mean? So you said presently you make more money as an investor than
Absolutely. And the reason why is because the money's not going anywhere but up. Yeah. For right now. You know what I mean? And like with respect to everything in the market and what we're like, paying attention to.
So are you counting like the appreciating in value, or are you talking about the rents, the increase in rents?
Even my biggest checks from wholesaling have been bigger than those checks because it's what you negotiate. Yeah. Right. Like on the realtor end, you're most likely going to be able to on one side of the transaction, you're most likely going to get maybe 3%, between 2 and 3% of the purchase price.
But wholesaling, it's what you get under contract.
Whatever you ask for, whatever you negotiate.
So it's so funny because it's kind of like the same thing, but it's not the same thing. You're still. It's like, how do you reconcile that? Because essentially, it seems like you're selling the property, but you're not really selling the property. You're wholesaling the property. Like, it seems like it's the same thing, but it's not.
So there's 2 ways to there's the main 2 ways to wholesale. Someone will do an assignment, and then someone will do what's known as like the double close. Yep. Right? So the good thing about my brokerage, which I actually like, is that my brokerage actually allows you to wholesale.
Mm-hmm.
So where some of it may get a little like sticky legality wise, and that's been a big thing, like ethics in some states, they're cracking down on wholesaling due to the ethical part of it.
I got my photographer here.
Oh, do you then?
We're gonna try to get some pictures of the interview.
Yeah, we're out here.
Should be right here. Let me see if I can.
Well, all that to say that the on the wholesaling aspect, which we'll talk about, is that my broker actually allows us to wholesale, and all you need is a buyer's agreement, which is known as a buyer's agreement, and that'll actually have the wholesale fee and everything like that on it, which then at that point completely makes it ethical, which is the beauty of it. Shout out to all y'all. Which y'all can follow me at more than an agent _ more than an agent _ That's my selfish plug. So don't tell my guy when he comes back.
Yeah. Hold on, we got some.
Oh yeah, you can move it over there.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Sorry, it's kind of tight. I don't got much space. I got a little space, but not much space.
We got efficient space.
Oh, my
No.
cords.
Sorry.
Oh.
Well, you're good. This is raw.
I should have. There's this thing I could do.
This is what success looks like.
Here. Where'd that thing go?
Okay.
I forgot where it is. I don't know where it is.
Hi, Regan.
How you doing, Austin?
Austin. Nice to meet you.
All love, all love.
We're still live. We got 5 people in here. Instagram Live is still live. What's going on, y'all? I have my other clothes in the car. I just really feel like getting dressed today. No suit today. No suit today.
That's the beauty of it.
All right, so I got to close the door. I don't want to be talking all down the hall. I know you had reached out to me to be on your show. Did you have some questions you wanted to ask me?
I was going to ask, like, if we were able to from one host to another.
Yeah, we could do that.
Because I love the options versus real estate dialogue. That always will ruffle some feathers. So here we go. So now we're gonna switch it over, and I'm gonna take the mic into the possession. So put it like this: you finish college. How do you? And we were talking about it before, but how do you even get into like options? Were you introduced to it by someone? Did you study it in school? Like what led you to that? Because that's not a usual path.
I would say that I studied in school. We were introduced to the concept of options in college. So when I was getting a degree in finance, we brought up stock options. And I can say that I didn't even truly appreciate the value that options bring until I started trading options. Like I knew that there was something that was better than stocks, or at least I would say better than stocks, but I didn't have access to it because like Scott Trade, TD Ameritrade, all those companies, they wouldn't let you get them. You would apply and they would say, no, you can't get access. And so I started just trading stocks, the stocks that I could trade. So I got into penny stocks. I got into like growth stocks. I got into some hype stocks. Started kind of like swing trading earnings. And so I was swing trading earnings and I realized like, man, I'm doing pretty good. Like that became my strategy. My strategy was just like get ahead of earnings, run it up, put my whole portfolio behind it, make some money, cash out, go to the next opportunity, which still isn't a bad strategy, even if you're just doing regular stocks, because there's limited downside risk. So let's say, for example, I swing trade something into earnings and it doesn't do well. Maybe it falls 5%. 5% is not a big deal. With an options contract, if you swing it into earnings, you could lose it all.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, you're not going to put your entire portfolio behind it like you would with option or with like flat stocks, which I call them flat stocks. You put a 2 or 3 contracts behind it. So you might lose $1,000, $500, $100, whatever that looks like. And so I started seeing some success there. And I was like, let's try this options thing out. I had a friend named Wale. And he said he was out there just killing with options. I said, okay, I'm killing in the stock market, which I was kind of bragging to him about my success in the stock market. That's why he brought up options. Mm-hmm. And then started doing options, and I really just crushed it. I mean, at that point, I was working a job, paycheck to paycheck type stuff. And I was working, this is actually after law school. So I was working in the family office. And it wasn't like high level stuff because I was still studying for the bar, taking the bar. So I really didn't have like a technical job title. I was more just like working with in-house counsel and working with some of the MBAs on the staff. And we're just putting together deals, things like that. But I wasn't getting paid what I thought I should be getting paid. And even still, people still get paid what they think they're going to get paid. And they're still living paycheck to paycheck because their income is going to match their lifestyle. So I probably was getting paid pretty well. And I was just like pissed off because that's just the way I am. And so I was able to then just start to create some separation with the options. The very first thing that I did, I was like, I bought my wife the first engagement ring. It wasn't that great, but I needed to like upgrade that ring. And I was like, man, they're not $1,000 ring. They're not going I'm not gonna be able to save $10,000 no time soon.
Right.
But the stock market did it for me. So I did a few swings, got me $20K, and then bought the ring. And then what's interesting is I kept trading. And we just bought a house recently. We bought a house about 2 years ago. And the business gave me the money for the down payment for that house. We put down a good amount of money. But before that, the reason we even knew we qualified for is because like 2 years prior to that, we were looking for a house. And I was at a dinner and somebody was talking about how like, no matter what they do, they just can't get the money for a down payment. And I was like, well, you could start a business. That's how I did it. And then I was talking to my wife and she was telling me like how the reason we got the money for the down payment last time was the options. I was like, I forgot all about that. So like options allowed me to embark on buying a house the first time and to get the ring. And then to also land me where I'm at now. So options have done everything for me.
Are you a fundamental trade? Like, what do you look for? Are you fundamental? Are you more technical? Do you more so look at charts, or is it more so just understanding, all right, listen, I just know business. I know what constitutes, as a good business, number-wise, their financials, and I put the monies behind good businesses? Or are you more like, all right, this is coming along, this is some support. My RSI is oversold. You know what I mean? It's time to buy up.
In my opinion, I think that a good trader looks at everything. They're not strictly technical. They're not strictly fundamental. They use a combination of both. And so that's what I like to do. I like to understand the fundamentals. I like to understand the quality of the company, but I also want to determine what kind of trend it's on. Where it's trading in terms of support and resistance. Where are the supply and demand levels? What does the RSI look like? What do the moving averages look like? Any kind of patterns that I'm starting to see, all those are relevant. So it's not either or. And I think sometimes people might be try to go either or because it's easier to just isolate one and say, I'm going to focus on technical only, or I'm going to focus on fundamental only. But I started out as a fundamental guy, mostly because like I'm a big student of Jim Cramer, and Cramer's fundamentals only. He doesn't talk about technicals. And if he does talk about technicals, he's bringing in somebody else to talk about the technicals when he does like charts on Thursdays or something like that. And then I started to realize like maybe there's something to this technical stuff. And then I started to kind of combine the two and incorporate some technical elements into my strategy. But at heart, I'm a fundamental guy. I care more about the business and the company and the long-term aspect than just, this is a flag pennant. This is this kind of chat, this pattern, double top, double bottoms, because those fail.
Yes.
Those technical indicators fail all the time, and nobody ever talks about when they failed. So it's like, I think for anybody who's never read the book, Trading in the Zone is probably one of the best books I've ever read in terms of trading, because it releases you from feeling like you have to know it all, or feeling like you have to predict the future.
Confirmation.
And a lot of people, they think that when they're trading that they have to determine what the stock market's going to do next. And if they don't do it right, then they're wrong or they're dumb. And that's not the case. Like the stock market's completely random. Like whether people think they can predict it or not predict it, the stock market at the end of the day is completely random. So it's your opportunity and responsibility to figure out what works for you, what approach, and just take that trade every single time. Take that trade every single time. You're going to win more often than you're going to lose. And just the way the options are set up, when you do win, let's say even if you were to lose 60% of your trades, those 40% more than pay for the 60% of the losses.
I've realized that with trading. I had a brief stint, and it's crazy because I wish I got into options prior to, because I was heavy on Forex, right, which provided the liquidity, because that's the reason why I guess most people will probably look at options versus stocks, because the liquidity aspect and how much you can make. Two, a little goes a far way, right? So you're using the leverage. And personally, I didn't have the mindset for the trading, because that was the one key fundamental aspect about the psychology of trading that I couldn't wrap my head around. Like, I should have been fine being able to win 30-40% of my trades, and just having the winners outpace the losers. Now that it's weird because now I'm coming back to it, not necessarily Forex per se, but just reading what's going on in the stock market now, and I've started definitely getting into Amazon, considering the fact that they're almost they're pretty much 40% off right now, and it's the
Amazon is just kind of that much from the top.
From yep.
What about since the stock split?
Well, that's Since that split, so towards the beginning of the year,
It's still kind of trending down. Yeah, I don't.
Which is why I was. I mean,
that's why I wasn't hyped when everybody was talking about oh, Amazon splitting. Are you gonna buy something?
No, and usually don't. I mean, for the most part, it's after splits, doesn't it drop usually? Usually after splits. Apple ran, continue to ran.
I know Tesla, when they split, I want to say it either ran a little bit, but it definitely dropped. Someone they say when they split to $600 and it fell down to $450. And I bought some at $450. And then it ran back up. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we don't know. You can't I don't know if it drops every time it splits. I know that it's likely to happen, but I can't tell you for sure. And so if you play that as a form of your edge, which is your advantage in the stock market, then you can figure some stuff out.
Yeah, we're down 42%. So how I understand it, fundamentally, is if I'm looking at a house and I'm getting it at 60, you know what I mean? At 60 of the LTV, of the 60% LTV, then there's 40% equity in there.
Yeah. That's how you should buy stocks. I tell people how you invest in anything is how you invest in everything. So how you buy stocks, that's how you should be buying real estate, how you should be buying a business, how you should be buying crypto, how you should be buying everything. It all goes across the board. How you should be buying your own personal residence. Look for the upside in your personal residence. When we bought our house, we knew we were getting a deal. We paid $500 for it. Now homes over there are selling for $8. Brand new.
Nice.
We knew we were getting a deal, because how do we know we're getting a deal? And this is what deals look like. A lot of times people think that they're just going to reach in and pull the deal out. No, we knew we were getting a deal because everything around us was dirt, but wasn't going to be dirt later on. So we're going to buy the dirt knowing that future is not going to be dirt. And now they built all that. They built all that. They built all that. And now they're going across the street and they're building those homes. They could pay $8.
You know what's funny? To your point, good deals are not found. They're made. And that deal was made. Ground up, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Because everything else was there around it.
Yep.
Here's an interesting question. Because we talked about my fears of jumping into the business full time. Now, we were talking before, there was one point where you were now about to bring what you had learned to the masses. And there was a period of maybe some indecision and a period of some, I don't know if it's going to work, so on and so forth. Tell me about, was that right around that 2020 mark? Because right around there is when you blew up, and was really able to connect with a lot of people on the option game. So tell me with that, the moments leading up into that.
So what's funny is sometimes people got to push you past your fears. And so my situation, I said I was going to release the options course, and I had pre-sold the options course, and then I was kind of sitting on it. And then this dude was like, bruh, I bought the course. Where the course at? And he's actually frat. I don't know if you know Lamontre. He's out in Baltimore.
Okay.
And I was like, bro, I guess I got to get it done, man. And so I got in the lab. I recorded it, released it, sold a few copies. And I think one night, it was crazy. Like one night I saw Chris Johnson buy it. And like I kind of got nervous. I was like, like, I hope he thinks it's all right. And he took it and he took the course and he was just like blown away by it. And so he told me like he was making money like gambling on sports, but he'd rather do something different in the stock market. And so like it's funny because sometimes the people like that you kind of think are like big time, they can put you on. And also sometimes the people that you think are big time can hold you back. And so sometimes like you got to get out of your own way because like for me, I was kind of nervous, but like going through that experience, it's like either make or break. Either you're going to like what I got or you're going to hate what I got. But either way, this is what I got.
Right.
I'm not going to not put out what I have out of fear that they're going to love it or they're going to hate it. This is all I got, man.
Especially when I've seen what it's done for me and my family.
Right. And so you always ask like, how are you able to be unapologetically about yourself? Like, this is all I have, man. I can't not put out what I have. Either they're going to rock with it, not rock with it, but I can't change myself. And so when that happened, I started to see the success of the people. And I think that's what also encouraged me to continue to put it out there because I saw that they were doing it and they were having success with it. Like people were buying it, very first trade, making their money back. People were buying it, making life-changing money overnight, $5,000 trades, $10,000 trades. People were buying it, paying off their student loans. People were buying it, getting the money to buy a house, buying it, like being able to walk away from their jobs or even creating their own imitation of what I'd already created and still finding some freedom in that too. Yeah. So it's like either they take my course and they make money or they copy my course and they make money. But either way, I'm helping the community grow. So I thought that was like the coolest thing to see.
That was major. Like, and that was the first, I mean, personally, because it was reaching everybody's timelines. We had already connected even before that anyway, but it was just cool to see that, like, the evolution of it. And I think, you know, it was such a, you know, what we were pointing out before, it was such a shocker that here you have this black man that's extremely successful in options trading. Members of the community have never seen that. Like, even when you're in, like, unless you're in Wall Street, unless you're in that, but you still pretty sure don't see it, like, on that particular caliber. And the fact that you were giving game, right? Yeah. Like, that's always been the biggest thing. Like, you've been unapologetically, as much as you've unapologetically promoted the business, is the same way that you've been unapologetically, like, just unselfish with your time, energy, your mental, you know what I mean? And I think that like goes really, really a long way because especially in our community, what happened? We get it, crabs in a barrel mentality, can't share it, because then it's not going to be more for me.
Yeah.
It's a scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
It's nuts. But
I think that happens. It's so interesting because I always talk about Dame Dash. And a lot of people like Dame Dash. A lot of people hate Dame Dash. More people hate him than like him. But one thing that Dame Dash...
Same thing as Trump. I don't even want to get to that, but like...
Right.
Well, you look hating, that's cool, but some things have been done, and you gotta respect it.
Right, but one thing about Dame Dash that's dope is he went to boarding school, and he said that when he went to boarding school, he realized that everybody was rich. It wasn't just one rich person. And in the hood, a lot of times, like we either don't see any rich people, or we see like one rich dude who made it out and left and never came back. And so Dame's always been about making everybody rich, not just making one person rich. Why? Because he's seen that can exist as a community. And so I take the same approach, like. I've seen environments where everybody's rich, everybody's doing well, everybody's happy, and there's nobody out there like talking bad about somebody, trying to hate on somebody, trying to pull somebody down. And so I kind of try to create the community that I want to see, where if I'm good and you good and she's good and he's good, we all good, and like that can happen. That's an abundance mentality. You have to have an abundance mentality to understand that like there can exist a world where we're all good. So if I see you doing well, it's not my job to hate on you. In fact, if I hate on you, I'm gonna probably be doing myself a disservice. When I see folks doing well, it's my responsibility to celebrate you, to put you on. Why? Because you've opened the door for me, and there's always bigger and better. I remember I had a friend who he graduated from grad school, and he's probably watching this. He graduated from grad school. His mom bought him a Rolex. He was like, I don't know if I should wear it. I shouldn't. No. I was like, man, like, wear your stuff, man, because you are inspiring other people. And now I got 3. I never even thought the idea of having one would even be on the platform until like I saw him have one. And so like he didn't want to show it. He kind of reluctantly showed it, but it's like you got to look at the kind of people that are out there. Some people are going to be inspired by what you got going on.
Right.
Some people are going to be hating on what you got going on, talking about you don't need all that, blah, blah, blah. And it's our responsibility to continue to show it. And that's what Chris does all the time. Like Chris Johnson is a large part of the reason why a lot of us are more motivated to do the things we're doing, because he's showing us that it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you take the right approach, you can have the same things.
And still being yourself. You know what I mean? You don't have to change up. You don't have to switch. You don't have to, you know, for lack of a better word, sell your soul. Like you can do everything that you want and just make a crap ton of money. Like it's very simple.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting question on mindset, because and for everyone that's listening, how do you get more people to adapt the mindset to separate themselves emotionally from money? And the reason why I asked that, because you had a post and I thought it was amazing, because it's literally the mindset behind the money. Was, listen, I'll go to my barber weekly, bi-weekly, whatever the case, I'll pay him $60. I could probably go get the same haircut for $20 or $25. But I'm doing two things. One, I'm supporting my other man's business. And two, it has nothing to do with the $60, $100, whatever that amount, remember it being like a higher amount, but it has everything to do with how I'm going to feel after.
Yeah.
And that's going to generate a higher vibration, a higher energy level. And that right there is going to bring me more, like, you know what I mean? Like, what's your recommendation for people to on how they can start just detaching themselves emotionally from money and just focusing on it being a tool?
I would say when I think about it, it sounds like an abundance mentality. And we've been having this conversation in the mastermind for a while, where there's this, even on Tweet Talk podcast, there's this unique thing that happens where when you buy a Lamborghini, you also make more money. Or when you buy a Lamborghini, you also make Lamborghini money. Or when you buy a house, you also become a house level type of person. Or when you buy whatever, your mindset expands based on the level that you're at. And so for me, I would say I'm more focused on earning than conserving. I'm more focused on doing what I have to do than hoarding what I have. And especially since we just went through this current like economic downturn, like stocks are down like 40%. Like I have accounts that were like way more that are still okay, but like they weren't what they were. Right. And so I had to think, I was like, bro, like it's time to get on the grind. It's time to continue to earn. Like you got real lazy and complacent for a while. Like now your responsibility is to just like earn and act like you don't have it anymore. It's like act like somebody who never had. I forgot who said that. I think it was like, who said? He said acting like an N-word that they never had. I don't know. It's like Larry June or something. But still, or it's like Juvenile. It sounds like something Juvenile would say. We're going to find it out. But I would say that the abundance mentality looks like you're detaching your emotions from your money, but it's really just looking at money differently and realizing that if you release it, you can get it back. If you reach that new level, you're only going to become better. Because I think that like a lot of us, whenever I talk about getting a car like that, people are like, what? That's crazy. Why would you spend that much money on a car? But then I realized like, no, that's who you become at that point. Now you become Mr. Lamborghini, right? And people start respecting you according to your Lamborghini.
But it's so true though, because and I've a lot of people obviously in the real estate space. There's a lot of people that will cop, you know, a real nice car, right? Whatever luxury. Lambos, Ferraris, Porsches, i8s, you know, the whole king of boot, Audis. And that right there is their marketing budget. They're like, yo, I'd rather spend the $1,200.
Yeah.
And now because y'all see me with this particular whip, people are going to approach you completely different. And there's your marketing budget right there. Ironically.
It's funny. If it works for them, it works for them. In my opinion, I never wanted to like that. That wasn't my goal. That was kind of just like something that would happen. But I mean, the goal isn't to like, I don't know. Because
I mean, I'm not. I mean, I still,
I don't know.
I still got more cribs to buy
Yeah.
until we get to that point. But
I've always wanted those things for me. Like that was a big motivation for me to get up and do all the things I was doing. It's like I eventually wanted those cars. If it happens to justify it, then so be it. But like, I'm not going to change what I want just because people are going to think it's lifestyle marketing.
For sure, and it's crazy because it's like, yo, what? Like instead of that, like I could have bought the car, and instead, like me and my wife have spent millions on real estate.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
But I would say, like, I've been that for a long time. I've always been like, man, I could do this, but I'm gonna do that. I could do this, but I did that for a very, very long time, to the point where I got to like you can get to a certain point where it just makes sense.
Right.
Everything's not a stretch for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start looking at like, okay, a Lamborghini costs $3,000 a month. Well, if your business is bringing in $25,000, what's $3,000 a month?
Exactly.
It's not a stretch to you at that point. And I think that people always assume it's going to be a stretch because we always exist in this. We're supposed to make 40, 50K a year. Well, we don't make 40, 50K a year. We do a little bit better than that. So
just a tiny bit. And whatever you make, I guarantee you. And I had Malcolm Harris on the podcast once, and he made it clear. And he was like, "Listen, I need you to understand, like mindset wise, and where this thing really goes." And mind you, I think especially when you see that out a little bit more out in LA rather than
you see it all
parts,
the time in LA.
All the time, it becomes so like it's osmosis, and you're like, all right,
you gotta have it then.
It's so interesting. And he said it best. He was just like, listen, wherever you make, somebody makes that in a year, somebody makes that in a week, somebody makes that in a day, somebody makes that in an hour, somebody makes that in a minute, somebody makes that in a second. Whatever you make. Granted, the higher you go up, it's more of a challenge. But all that to say is that, especially like, where most of us are at, right? Like community-wise, as far as, there's not 100 Black billionaires that are, you know what I'm saying? So obviously, as you go up the chain, it's a little bit harder. But all that to say that, what you think is a lot, somebody else might think it's peanuts.
Yeah.
What's next? Like, because now you got a community, now you got a backing, right? Now you got a following, now you have a movement, and we were talking about it real briefly, but what's next? Where do you take the entire establishment? Where do you take the empire?
I don't know. I have no idea, man.
No, this is awesome because you're building a plane on the way down.
Yeah, because there's things that I thought I wanted to do that I'm not doing. There's ventures that I thought were going to pan out a lot better that aren't panning out. So interestingly enough, we had this conversation on the mastermind this morning. We do a mastermind call every single morning. TyCapitalMastermind.com if you want to join. And Brandy said, you know what? I don't want to like push myself anymore. She's like, I pushed myself to get to this point where I'm comfortable, where my bills are paid, where I'm not stressed out, commuting, trying to figure things out. It's like, I just kind of want to chill for a little while. So like the only real goals I have are golf goals. Like the only real goals I have are like, man, how can I get my handicap down?
Yeah.
Man, how can I get some better clubs? How can I get fitted for clubs? Like those are the only real goals I have right now.
That's real though.
Other than that, it will be on some like things that I don't even know are attainable. And I think that's the weird part. It's like the only real goals I have right now are like things that I don't even think that I could do if money was an issue. So like it's like things that like it's not money that gets the deal done. It's like connections and your bills is a
You wish you would have done differently.
I wish I wouldn't have went to law school, damn it. Sometimes I just think about that. Like I never said it out loud, but I'm starting to think like I should not have gone to law school. That was dumb. I should have just got an MBA, but you know what? Some girl talked me into going to law school. Not my wife either. Some girl, she was like, you should go to law school. I'm over here like studying for the MBA and stuff. She's like, you should go to law school. She was trying to convince me to do what she was already doing. She was convinced on law school. I was like, you know what? That'd be kind of cool. Like Black man lawyer, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But that kind of worked out, kind of didn't work out. It was more stress than it should have been, longer than it should have been, more expensive than it should have been. That's one thing I'd really change. A lot of people say like, I wouldn't change anything. Like if I could change anything, it might've been, didn't go to law school.
Interesting. Okay. Usually you don't hear that. Usually is it the law school or is it the fact that is it the money that was associated with law school? Some people just hate the debt that they took on.
It's the money, it's the gatekeeping, it's just things that I've noticed about corporate America since I've been out of college. You start to realize like a lot of things that they tell you when you go into college or when you go into law school, it's just so they can get you into law school and get you into the thing.
It's a business. It's
You're right. And so like you're over here like thinking I'm gonna go work at Goldman Sachs. I'm gonna go work here at Goldman Sachs. So we only take kids who go to SC. Did you go to SC? No, you didn't go to SC. Get out of here. And so you're over here thinking like degree. And so that's why it's like, I got to build my own Goldman Sachs. So if I was to do anything, it would be to do that. But again, it's just a lot of red tape going there. And so like as an entrepreneur, I'm starting to realize that like a lot of what you do is not just you and your customer. It's like you, your customer, and the government. So making sure that you got everything situated with the government is what you got to do. And so that's kind of like why I'm trying to figure out the best way to get it going, because the government definitely slows things down. And California is very liberal, and the United States is, of course, the liberal right now. So it's like it's tough to get things done. I'm looking to. I would love to just leave California. I'd love to be in either Texas or Georgia.
Why?
It's just more conducive to Black success, and it's more normal, and it's just healthier. I think healthier for kids, especially Georgia. Like I know a lot of the schools that are out there, like it's a different kind of an education, and so that's why I would like my son to be raised in Georgia. I don't really like California too much.
Interesting. And I'm over here trying to move to LA. So we're going to have to have that conversation before I make a mistake. And then when we record this podcast episodes in a few years, I'll be like, yo, my biggest mistake was that I moved to California. And if I could, I would have took that back. The money, all of it. Let me know how we're looking on time too.
No. Well, one of my things just is timed out, so we got to see this.
Let me know. What time is it?
That's funny.
Oh, it's 1:30. Okay. I'm going to probably have to start heading back around 1:45.
All right. We had a... Oh, damn.
We're doing well.
I didn't even run the live twice. See, this is just going. We don't got no comments, though. I got to share it. Part 2. And then we're going to go. I got like a few. I don't really got too many clothes that I brought. What was I about to do? Oh, let me go on YouTube. I can share it. Oh, there it is, right there. Look at that. Share it on Twitter. Tweet. All right. Again. Man, Eric, you should get in the podcast one of these days.
I will. I was on a thing yesterday.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, Erica, how did you get into the photography game?
Yep.
Like I started a long time ago when I was in high school taking pictures in black and white in my photography class.
Basically.
And that's how it works.
So we're back. I should have done my countdown, but I didn't do my countdown. Instagram kicked us off. We were just talking about a whole bunch of really cool things, empowered brothers who are on their own thing, man. Do you feel like you're more empowered now that you are doing your own thing and not stuck in like some dead end type situation as you defined it?
You know what it is? It gave you a sense of, okay, like it gave you your first sense of like, okay, I can see how people make a lot of money. Right. So it was like once you realize like, okay, I can get paid a lot while doing a little, it was like, okay, I can see how people like run the back up like crazy,
Mhm.
right? Like
Right.
it completely
Like, if you really worked at it,
if
like,
you
man.
really work that, like really, really, you know what I mean? And it's that simple, and it only happens when you like have that flexibility and control. But yeah, man, like it's you got a couple of hints, and then you look at it, and then it's not until like you got a 30 grand month, and you're like, all right, I understand why now. Like it makes sense.
Mhm.
Like it makes sense. I just have to do more of that.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
it's that simple. Like it's just performance based, and it's like I just have to do more of that and train my mind subconsciously to just do more of that, so that way it's easier. And then like it's weird when they say it flows. Like it really does flow. But it's interesting because like we're always so used to like working for it or exchanging
Yeah.
the time for the money, that like when it's just like just coming in, and mind you, like you're definitely a lot more on the on that passive side. I'm still on the active end of it, and the real estate, the real estate as far as the rental properties, they provide that passive, that first glimpse into like, okay, like I see what it's like. But yeah, man, just and it's just like a sense of some bullshit. You know what I mean? Like you walk different a little bit. You know what I mean? And when you're really like providing value, it business is a sport. Like it becomes the sport of like business. So anyone that's either played sports in the past or anything like that, like this is your second opportunity to kind of get back into that wave. And the only difference is that you're not in a stadium or an arena and everybody's cheering.
Mhm.
What's happening instead is that you're closing that deal, right? You're closing the deal instead, and that's what's giving you those chills. You're establishing a new connection, and that's a good play. So, yeah, man, I wouldn't trade it for the world, and it's a liberating sense. It's a liberating sense, and knowing that I don't have to do anything if I don't want to.
Yeah, I think you definitely walk different when you realize like nobody can determine whether or not you can feed your family or whether or not you can pay your bills. And that was like a constant fear when I had a job. I feel like it was a constant fear, so much so that I stayed at jobs that weren't serving me because at least I wasn't getting fired.
Right.
Or like I would like sometimes feel like I took a little bit less pay because I was like, I'd rather just take a little bit less pay than stretch them on the front end and they resent me on the back end. And so like I've had to work for managers I didn't respect. I've had to work for managers I didn't think were better than me. I had to work for managers who didn't have the lifestyle that I wanted. And like that always like impacted me. I was like, man, like I don't want a Prius, fam, or I'm not working this hard to get an RX. I'm not doing all that. And like it sounds kind of crazy, but like a lot of those things do kind of impact you. Like I saw the people who lived how I wanted to live, and they weren't my bosses, my managers. They were the folks out there at the country club, at the nice hotels, traveling in the nice whip. Like that's what I wanted. And so it's very difficult for me to track myself to those things if they didn't have the life that I wanted. And so I would say like you definitely walk different. It's like you kind of become like un-F-withable. Like you could think what you want to think, fam. Right. You could think what you want to think. Like the bills are paid. You could think you could like when people get in trouble online and the first thing they do is like, who's your boss?
Right.
Like I'm my boss, fam. Like
it's
call 1-800-TIDE Capital.
Yo, it's always a good day when I wake up in the morning and you're already on your shit for the day. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a good day. Because here's another example of why, like you say, it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
Like in that particular case, we could stir the pot, like in a good sense. Like we're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
If the shoes fit on your end, that's on you.
Yeah. And
you have to deal with that, like mentally wise. But like when I see that, it's like this is what it's done for. This exact reason. This how Elon Musk talks, right? Like he's in a little bit of trouble, but he'll do. He's a little bit of trouble right now, but we'll see what happens. We'll see how that plays off.
Yeah.
But the reality is that like you can't like at the end of the day, what are we talking about? You mad at his tweet?
Yeah.
He's trying to send heads to Mars.
Yeah.
If not, then you do it then.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why the billionaires? Why the other people? Why they always? And there's people that starving. People that like you always have to realize the most wealthiest people also give the most. Now the difference is you want them because they have that much more money than you You want them to give away 95% of what they made for you to feel better.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can go check those tax returns because it is a write-off. How much did you give the charity? How much did you give the church? We tithe on ours. So how much, because we can do this. Yeah. So don't look at them and expect them to do more than what you're doing. Because if they're giving 10%, whether that's $1 million, whether that's 10,000, are you giving 10%?
Yeah.
Right. So don't let the percentages fool you. So I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah. For the people that need to follow you, support you, first off, do you have any other products outside of what you're doing? Do you have any products, any services, anything they can reach out to you for?
So that's the next step, right? So that's like the next in the whole entire more than an agent, kind of movement, is starting those products, those digital courses and books, and ebooks, just on how we built the portfolio and how we're continuing to build the portfolio. Because again, I mean, there's a bunch of courses out there. There's a bunch of, stuff that's out there that's already definitely beneficial. But the beauty of it is that you don't have to fear it because people need to hear it 8 times in order for it to stick.
Very true.
Right. So they'll hear it from 7 other people, but how you said it in your ebook, all of a sudden it's like, that's what they were talking about. Mm-hmm. And then it clicks and then it becomes self-conscious. And that's when you start to take the action. Yeah. Because if not, it starts with the thought, then it becomes how you speak, and then how you move, and then obviously everything that comes back to you on that aspect. But yeah, you can find me on IG and all the platforms, more than an agent _ I'm always there just sharing content about, just what we're doing on a daily basis. And we're just looking to expand. We're just looking to scale. Now we're getting to an interesting point because now, to your point, when you get into a couple of these rooms, you're like, all right, now's the time to scale, right? So now is the time to double and triple the portfolio, the same way that I see other individuals doing, right? So iron sharpens iron, and that's the next movement. So with our 16 units now, how do we get to 32? How do we get to 56? So on and so forth. While also diversifying and starting to get more into stocks and so on and so forth. But the one thing I will tell everybody is pick one investment vehicle of choice, right? Run it up with that. And then it's going to be easy to have it spill into other buckets and things like that. So what I think is amazing, when I see people make, 50 grand, 75 grand, 100 grand, on the options and stocks and things like that, most people will think that, all right, I got to do options in order to do that. Mm-hmm. And you'll completely disrespect the 100,000 that you just closed 4 months ago. And then the other $125,000 that you closed, 2 months ago, and so on and so forth. So pick your investment vehicle of choice, run it up, and then it'll be easier to diversify.
Oh, so that's a gem for a lot of people because I think there's this shiny object syndrome that goes on in the internet where you start thinking you got to get into that space, and that's the space that's going to either do it for you or do it for you easy. And ain't nothing about any of this stuff easy. Nothing. I've done all of them. I've done Turo. I've done vending. I've done trucking. I've done options. I've done real estate. Am I missing anything? I don't think I'm missing too many other things. What else is out
E-courses.
there?
There's the whole
I've done courses, digital products.
All of it.
I would say digital products by far the best business, but
imagine.
But that's only because I went deep and I had 15 courses and I have a significant brand online in terms of I have the podcast, I have the tweets, I have all that stuff. It was just a merger that seemed to happen at the right time. But what I'm saying is you do got to go deep in whatever space you decide to go into. And so whatever space you decide to go into, stay in that space. If you choose options, stay in that space. If you choose real estate, stay in that space. And that's the best bets you're going to have to be successful, as opposed to being so spread out that you're not effective in any of those. And so we sold the vending machines. My truck just sitting right now, probably should sell that. But what's working is stuff that I still do without thinking about it. I'm going to always get it and tweet. I'm going to always get up and post. I'm going to always get up and share what I'm selling. That's a given. And so that's why it's the best business for me. So one
last point, because it's interesting that you said it, because it's there's a lot of synergies with your businesses with what you already done. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot easier, and most people will get a part-time hustle, a side job, whatever the case, in a totally different field. Yeah. And it's funny because Grant Cardone actually said this. He was like, why would you get a part-time job sacrifice another 20 hours a week when you can use the same 20 hours on what you're already doing, right? Even if you're at a job, ask your boss, is there another way that I can set aside 20 hours that I can earn this? All right, boom. If I do this for the company, is there a way that I can, and reinvest those 20 hours in what you're already good at?
Yeah.
And in your case, like you doubled down on one what you were already good at, which was trading, right? Trading and promotion. And then that turned into the whole entire digital catalog, right? Which it's not extra work. It's just different work.
Yeah.
Right? So like,
I'm already on Twitter. I'm already on social media. I think Grant Cardone calls that symbiotic stream of income.
Correct.
But yeah, that's 100% true. Like I didn't have to change anything. I didn't have to go get any extra education, spend 6 months, learn about this and this and this and this and this, and then struggling to get it off the ground.
Right.
So I guess do what works for you. You don't got to do what's hot on the timeline unless it's hot on the timeline and there's options. If it's options, you got to do that. So you got to click the link in the bio, check out the options course, check out everything we got going on, man. We got the brother Austin Smith in the building, and we did it again. We did another in-person podcast. I haven't done one of these in a long time.
Oh,
but I gotta keep them going. Whenever somebody comes in this city, we always got to have them come through. So I've had most people come through. This is like Rap City, man.
This is, man. When you pull up, you gotta check in. The same way that the artists do and all this other stuff. Like, check in. This is how we create the synergy. This is how we get the conversation going. You know what I mean? It's just totally different. Check in. The same way that you were checking on your friends and go have fun. You know what I mean? This is work, but it doesn't feel like work.
It doesn't feel like work.
You know
Usually we'd be going to Fleming's after this, but we can't take a photographer in the Fleming's. So we just gonna get these pictures off.
That works.
Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Keep that support going. You better respect this, man. Stop bugging out.
That was cool.
I always love.